Devil who would decide to do it. She asks if he is really trying to gain experience points this way, and also asks why he is doing it. Vincent does not hide his motives and immediately tells her that he is doing this solely for the money, which he really needs. Emily honestly admits that she doesn't believe a single word of it, as she considers it too risky a way to earn experience points. Vincent reminds his interlocutor that she is lucky with her profession, and says that she cannot even imagine how others have to survive. He also reveals that she has no team, and when she encounters demons, she simply charges at them, acting completely recklessly. He asks her what she wants to achieve, and Emily states that she wants to become stronger and be the first to conquer this dangerous place. Right after this, Emily asks him why he really wants to change his profession and why he is taking so many risks for this. Vincent decides to tell her that he is actually doing this for the sake of his family, since his primary goals are to protect his relatives. Emily is very inspired to hear such a noble goal and asks her interlocutor what his name is. Vincent, after thinking for a bit, tells her his real name, also seeing in his interlocutor a very worthy person to whom he is not ashamed to open up. Emily also introduces herself and expresses her confidence that Vincent will one day be able to change his profession, and once that happens, he can join her. With these words, she extends her hand to him so that they can seal their promise with the traditional handshake. Vincent, hearing this proposal, realizes that they need to try as hard as possible, and Emily states that she already has 30 monsters on her account, so Vincent must catch up. After some time, her guards make their way into these dungeons, who immediately call out to her and try to drive Vincent away. Taking him by the arms, they talk about how their boss became furious and almost broke their necks when he saw that his precious daughter had run away into the depths of the abyss. Emily got her bearings at the last moment and threw a small stone to the protagonist, telling him to catch it. Vincent easily catches the abyssal crystal and looks at it carefully, realizing that it is quite a valuable thing. Emily smiles at him sincerely and tells him that this is his first reward for showing incredible bravery and finishing off the giant monster. Vincent turns to the side and walks towards the exit of the dungeon, waving his hand at her as a sign that he is very grateful and appreciative of her. His dreamy thoughts are interrupted by one of the group members, who taps him on the back of the head and tells him that he should not stand rooted to the spot. Vincent smiles and says he'll try his best not to drag the others down, while Emily calmly looks around. It is quite obvious that over such long periods of separation, the girl has forgotten about him and does not recognize him the first time, which is why she reacts so distantly. After a while, she orders the others to move forward to head out and conquer this dungeon. Vincent also follows his partners, thinking that this time he also plans to earn some money and return from the dangerous place alive. The last time he came out of the abyss, he had mastered the golden shield skill as well as the dagger skill, but that was the only thing he got as a bonus. Among other things, he has the ability of Berserk, which is very useful for a person who often travels through the abyss. In addition, he managed to defeat the boss of the abyss and take the reward, which is no less valuable a gift. By destroying a giant dam and one plant, he gains the ability to supergenerate, which allows him to instantly restore his health. Thanks to his fantastic versatility, Vincent can now choose any profession. He will have absolutely no disadvantages. Vincent evenly distributes all the extra points, of which there are quite a lot, because he completely recycled everything that was suitable for this last time. On the sides, it allows you to use the all-seeing window skill to gain additional perception parameters. Assessing his allies, he discovers that the warrior has only 12 strength points, while Vincent's is already over 100. Meanwhile, he follows his comrades, not wanting to show off his incredible skills unless absolutely necessary. After a while, the ground begins to shake, and Vincent, realizing that most likely something terrible lives in these walls, becomes wary. The comrades turn around, wondering what that was, trying to figure out if another monster is trying to get behind them. Vincent quickly puts the brick back in and says that this underground structure is somehow unstable, after which he chuckles. Suddenly, one of the fighters tells his comrades that he found a chest, which is quite a rarity. He quickly discovers that the chest is high level, meaning they won't be able to open it without a dagger master. Vincent takes a few steps forward and says that he can try to open this chest, since he has certain skills. His fellow housemates decide not to interfere with him and let him go ahead, after which he quickly begins to pick the lock. It only takes a few seconds and he successfully opens the chest, thinking about how incredibly easy it was to break into this structure. His comrade says that only a dagger master above level 4 can pick locks, to which he replies that scavengers are also capable of doing that. One of the fighters says that they will share the contents of this chest after the mission, after which the squad heads forward. A few moments later, he stops one of his partners, saying that there appears to be something dangerous ahead. Taking a few steps forward, he throws a pebble forward, which bounces off the walls several times. Within seconds, the walls begin to move, revealing razor-sharp spikes before rapidly collapsing. The partner asks the main character if he is really a newbie, to which he replies that he is an experienced garbage man and has often come across such traps. Emily continues to watch him but still doesn't say a word, and from the outside it may seem that she is deeply immersed in her thoughts. The rest of the group are very impressed by Vincent's skills, while he muses that he saw through the traps due to his heightened intelligence. One of the players hands him a reward, which is a broken head that can only be used in the first level. Vincent thinks about how his allies still think he's pretty useless, then continues on his journey, and they find themselves in a large room. The system tells them that they have entered a reward room, which contains no monsters, only great rewards for overcoming the traps. Emily says that it is too early to rejoice, since it could be a trap, while the warrior states that of all the rewards here, the only one he sees is a stone slab. Without thinking twice, he takes the slab out of the bowl in which it was steaming and says that they can turn around and go home. After a few moments, a fountain of blood begins to gush out from this cup, and the system notifies everyone that the blood test is about to begin. Emily calls her ally an idiot, saying that this is not a room number, but a regular trap designed for fools. Quite quickly, the bloody nightmare emerges from the dense fog, which is a terrible creature with incredible strength. Emily opens her inventory and takes out her weapon, advising the others to prepare for a withdrawal to destroy this monster. Within moments, they find themselves surrounded by various monsters that are the minions of the bloody nightmare. Vincent muses that he only needs to fight at 25% of his strength to avoid revealing his secret. To do this, he uses a ring he recently found, which allows the wearer to choose how much their stats will be reduced. Of course, the reduction in characteristics is only temporary, so there is no need to worry about our hero. As the monsters begin to approach the group, Vincent decides to use the scavenger spirit skill to raise his stats. The rest of the team joins the fight as best they can, and fight back against the creatures of the nightmare. Emily also easily deals with her opponents, after which she turns towards Vincent and is surprised by his incredible success. The thing is, he managed to destroy the nightmare spawn in just one hit, even with reduced stats. Emily watches Vincent closely as one of the monsters decides to attack her, taking advantage of her agility. However, the monster has no idea how serious the opponent is that has come here, as Emily's reaction is at its highest level. Without moving from her spot, she makes a swift and deadly swing with her sword to cut down her opponent. Berserker wonders what is happening to these monsters, noting that they are blown to pieces with just one hit. He says that all of this seems incredibly suspicious to him, while the other monsters continue their onslaught. After a few moments, the nightmare creatures begin to take on human form in order to mimic the abilities of their opponents. Each death of such a creature actually feeds it with experience, thanks to which they only become stronger. The girl with magical powers praises the Berserker, saying that he fights very well. However, after a few moments, their joy turns to surprise and fear as another nightmare creature appears out of nowhere. The Berserker wonders what the hell is going on when suddenly the nightmare spawn strikes quickly and cuts off his arm. A moment later, a shrill scream pierces the air from the Berserker, who is trying to cope with the incredible pain that is piercing his body. Some of the heroes lose hope as even beheading it does no good, and the thing turns out to be indestructible. The monster is about to finish off the Berserker with one clear blow that should cut in half anyone who stands in its way. The warrior is already preparing to meet his fate and accept his death, but suddenly the blow of this monster stops. Emily jumps on the beast and quickly freezes it, commenting on how some allies are incredibly helpless. She prepares to destroy the Blood Nightmare's creation, and says that this enemy does not pose a threat. She will scold her allies, saying that they are too pathetic, and it is a shame that she went into the dungeon next to such worthless people. Oh, having destroyed the spawn of Nightmare, she calls her allies pathetic trash. Yet, despite her self-importance, the Blood Nightmares continue to respawn as if nothing had happened to them. The sorceress says that these creatures are too fast, and she does not have time to cast a spell to destroy them all. Vincent states that if the sword is useless against them, then it is better to finish them off on the spot with another spell, and rushes forward. After preparing himself properly, he decides to use the Big Bang skill to conquer a huge area at once. The sorceress says that the Big Bang is a spell that is cast at a higher level, and is difficult to cast so quickly. She also asks herself how a first-level player is able to achieve such outstanding results. Meanwhile, the Bloody Nightmare still remains undefeated, and continues to rise again to destroy the trespassers. Several of the creature's minions rush forward to sink their razor-sharp teeth into Vincent's body. Vincent lets them get closer, then lets out a battle cry that instantly stops them, albeit for a very short time. The Blood Nightmare's creatures are shocked and remain frozen in place for a time, stunned. Vincent, meanwhile, rushes forward, entering a berserker state that doubles his speed and strength. Using punches, he crushes yet another handful of opponents with incredible ease and grace. Despite this, he finds that the pieces of his opponents that were left behind by his blow are beginning to come back together. He turns back and realizes that this time the creature has decided to transform into something more expressive. In a few seconds, a huge block, several tens of meters high, appears in front of him. The sorceress looks at this monster in surprise, wondering what is wrong with this monster and why it has become so big. Vincent suggests that these monsters have gathered into one large creature to deal with them all at once. The sorceress states that this monster is too strong for this location, as the creature is now a royal-level creature. Vincent talks about how Bloody Nightmare can imitate its opponent and wonders who the king-rank monster is imitating. Meanwhile, the Blood Giant stretches out his hand forward to grab the annoying opponent and crush him. The force of this blow is simply incredible and causes a small earthquake. However, the main character somehow miraculously manages to dodge this attack and jump back to a safe distance. Vincent assumes that, apparently, this monster decided to imitate him, which means that dealing with it will be extremely problematic. Emily shows her confidence and rushes forward, recommending that the others step aside. She claims that she will deal with this monster without any problems and destroy it in just a few minutes. Bloody Nightmare turns his attention to Emily and prepares to attack again, but the girl decides to take the initiative. Emily runs forward quickly, dodging her opponent's attacks and jumping onto his body as quickly as possible. It doesn't take more than a few moments before she jumps into the air to get the perfect angle for her attack. Bloody Nightmare looks at his opponent and realizes that he won't have time to make any additional efforts to knock her down. All he can do is try to defend himself, and that's what keeps her from hitting him right in the head. Vincent continues to watch his ally with surprise and admiration, noting that she was able to freeze his claw with incredible ease. However, this is clearly not enough to send a monster like the Bloody Nightmare to the next world. Readying itself for another decisive attack, the monster lunges forward to grab Emily and neutralize her. Emily looks at her opponent in surprise, realizing that she did not expect such incredible durability, cunning, and dexterity from the Bloody Nightmare. She tries to block the direction of the blow with her weapon, causing her sword to bounce to the side, and she herself only miraculously manages to catch it. However, her balance is strong enough to keep it and land softly on her feet. She continues to carefully analyze her opponent and understands that this will not work, and she urgently needs to change tactics. She recalls that not long ago the guards told her that they had detected the energy of this mud, which was extremely unstable. They asked her if she was sure she wanted to go there alone, adding that it would be much easier with allies. Emily said at that moment that her goal was to conquer the place that was the highest level of the Abyss Tower. However, she reflected that her progress was still not high enough, and she was hopelessly behind her older siblings. The girl prepares to repel another attack from her enemy, and understands that there is one simple truth. From her point of view, if he has difficulty in cleaning up without this, she is not worthy of her great family name, which bears incredible pride. The monster tries to make another devastating attack to crush its opponent in the blink of an eye. However, none of this works for him, as Emily creates a special frost shield that has incredible strength. Vincent continues to watch what is happening without interfering, as per Emily's request. At this moment, the Ice Swordswoman herself calls upon a special power that helps her strengthen her abilities and increase her performance. Moments later, she drops the frost flag to the ground to increase her speed, including that of her allies, by 50%. The ground that touches the wooden flagpole immediately begins to freeze and spread in different directions, thus demonstrating incredible strength. A little later, a huge ice wave appears from Emily's side, which immediately absorbs the Bloody Nightmare, who did not have time to dodge it. The huge monster turns into an ice statue in the blink of an eye. But Emily realizes that the battle is not over yet, and now she needs to deliver the final blow. Rushing forward, she realizes that if the ice doesn't kill the monster, it will at least hold it off long enough for her to launch a series of attacks. Without a second thought, she rushes forward to perform a comet strike and deal a crushing defeat to this giant. Vincent continues to watch what is happening and says that he did not expect to see the power of God's chosen profession. He also wonders who will be stronger after all, while Emily realizes that her incredibly strong attack still has no effect. Emily's self-confidence and arrogance are indeed at a high level, which cannot be said about her fighting skills. Despite her best efforts, she was unable to cause any serious damage to the Blood Nightmare, leaving the monster still in full combat readiness. The giant monster attacks again, seeking revenge for the obvious insult it has just suffered. Emily continues to dodge the swift attacks and ponders how her strength still cannot compare to that of her siblings, and she begins to insult herself, realizing that she is the owner of a great family name, but still feels like an outcast and the weakest link. Words flash through the warrior's mind that she is a disgrace to the family, and should not leave the house because it is too dangerous without her. Emily realizes that to stop this from happening, she must become stronger, even if she has to start from an easier place. She confidently declares that she must deal with this monster herself, no matter what, to prove to herself that she is worthy. Thus, she manages to overcome her opponent's resistance and deliver a powerful blow to her enemy. However, her sword breaks. Vincent is surprised by such a sharp change in the balance of power and understands that now his ally will have a hard time. Emily herself understands that she has driven herself into a very uncomfortable position, because of which she can now not dodge the attack. Bloody Nightmare immediately decides to take advantage of this and delivers a powerful attack on the girl who came too close. Emily feels incredible pain that permeates her entire body, and hopes that someone will come to her aid in this difficult moment. The sorceress assumes that the Bloody Nightmare has just killed Emily, and suggests running to save her life. Meanwhile, Nightmare prepares to deal with her opponent and takes out her other hand to deliver a crushing blow. Vincent, realizing that he needs to prevent the irreparable and disrupt his rival's plans, acts decisively. He lunges forward, extending his arms to cast fire magic and interrupt the enemy's attack. The sorceresses and other members of the battle group look in surprise at the giant piece of the monster that falls towards them. It's only by a miracle that they manage to run to the side and discover that the Bloody Nightmare has lost his arm, as if it had been cut off. Emily quickly comes to her senses and gets to her feet to look around and figure out what she needs to do. However, her attention is immediately drawn to Vincent, as he was able to impress this queen with his powers. Meanwhile, the main character himself rushes forward to continue distracting the monsters and give his allies time to regroup. He also uses the skills from the Seeing Eye to find weak points in his opponent's body and take advantage of them. Vincent muses that if this monster reaches the royal level, it will be able to survive under any circumstances and lose all meaning. At this point, he lights a ring that lowers his stats, realizing that there is no point in holding back since their lives depend on it. With his full strength restored, he uses another fireball skill to deal massive damage to his enemy. The Bloody Nightmare rushes towards its opponent to seize them with its jaws. Vincent continues to maneuver, dodging one after another to delay his opponent and wear him down. The sorceress says that Vincent is incredibly fast and acts as if he is not a garbage man, but some kind of extra-class player. Vincent, meanwhile, continues to masterfully dodge every attack his opponent throws at him. With incredible grace, he lands on his feet, then takes an extra sideways jump to avoid area damage. He realizes that once he can find the Blood Nightmare's weak spot, they will all be saved. At this point, he sends several fire blasts into his opponent's body at once to find the weak spot. Vincent reflects with disappointment that no matter what part he blows up, it still grows back, and he still hasn't noticed any weak spots on his body. After a few moments, the idea occurs to him that perhaps this creature is being controlled remotely, and he turns to his comrades. He asks them to kick him a stone tablet that was in the blood bowl and contained some data. Taking proper aim, the warrior kicks the tablet towards him so that it reaches its target accurately. The system notifies Vincent that he has passed the intelligence test and says that by deciphering the ancient spell, he will be able to lift the curse. Vincent only has time to read this much before the Bloody Nightmare suddenly decides to intervene and reaches out with his hand to grab the stone slab. Without thinking twice, he immediately sends this slab into his mouth, and it immediately disappears into his jaws. An eerie glow begins to emanate from his body, and the system reports that the Bloody Nightmare has entered invincible mode. Emily wonders what happened and why the monster froze, to which Vincent replies that they are in big trouble. The protagonist states that now this monster has entered an invincible mode, which means that its skills have been significantly enhanced. Emily finally decides to approach him and says he looks familiar, asking if they could have met somewhere before. Vincent looks at her in surprise and says that they met 2 years ago in business, and back then he was a garbage man who earned experience points. He also states that Emily witnessed him gain his first experience point in his life, and Emily remembers everything. She says that she has now remembered everything and tries to guess the name of the main character, calling him William, after which he corrects her. She kindly says that she had no idea that he would already be able to replace the profession. Vincent smiles and says that he is now a level 1 scavenger thanks to being able to accumulate the required amount of experience. Emily looks closely at her comrade and realizes that he has risked his life and accumulated points time and time again. She also notes that this is why he became so strong, and if you think about it, he even surpasses her in strength. Emily smiles and then says that even after all that effort, his profession doesn't sound very scary or cool. Afterwards, she recovers her sword, saying that the tablet will circulate inside Bloody Nightmare's body and she can freeze him. She also suggests a plan where she freezes the body while Vincent tries to find the tablet to retrieve it. Vincent says that one head is good, then holds out his fist to her, saying that they can defeat this monster together. Emily looks at the lucid Vincent and realizes that he has a fighting spirit that she can respect. After this, she extends her fist to him with a smile, saying that everything will work out if he doesn't get in her way with his feet. Other members of the battle group say that they may not be as strong, but they are still ready to fight to the end. Vincent praises his allies for their enthusiasm and says that they should go together, and that way they will definitely get out alive. Meanwhile, Nightmare is almost done with his transformation procedure and is preparing for battle to destroy his enemies. Vincent analyzes his opponent and says they have 5 seconds before he goes into invincible mode, otherwise it will be a real massacre. After this, he states that these 30 seconds are their last hope, and they must return alive, no matter what. Berserker, watching what is happening, slowly repeats the last words he heard from the lips of the protagonist. Immediately after this, he raises the morale of himself and his allies, saying that they will definitely return alive. Emily also receives this major boost, feeling her weakness completely disappear and her regeneration rate increase by 15%. She turns away as Vincent continues to celebrate with his comrades, recharging himself with the incredible atmosphere of camaraderie. Emily smiles, realizing that even garbage men, who at first glance are just pathetic bugs, should not be underestimated. After this, she reunites with her squad and orders the soldier to monitor the monster's fury and keep it on him. The warrior immediately attracts the giant Bloody Nightmare's attention by giving it the middle finger to further insult it. This action is quite bold, especially considering the incredible size of the Bloody Nightmare that has been growing all this time. Compared to this monster, even a 2-meter berserker seems like just a bug, capable of nothing but being crushed. Emily, however, does not lose hope and asks the sorceress to target the enemy's regrown claws and cover Vincent. The girl decides to use a special spell to restore her mana and increase its potential. Immediately after this, she concentrates properly and releases several energy beams towards the enemy. The Bloody Nightmare feels the numerous damages that its body receives and begins to gradually dissolve. Vincent says that the stone tablet will help end the trial, but if it is destroyed by the fireball, the trial will never end. Emily takes this information into account and asks him what they should do in this case. Vincent realizes that it is time to act with maximum determination and says that he can take out this monster with one hand. Emily guesses what he's getting at, realizing that this is pure madness, laced with incredible risk. She asks him if he really wants to go back into that monster's stomach and get that tablet himself. Vincent is preparing for this incredible challenge and says it is exactly what he wanted to do. Emily tries to figure out how desperate this man is that he decided that jumping into the mouth of a giant monster was a good idea. However, she realizes that they have no other choice and turns to the shooter, ordering him to aim at the roof above the monster's head. She also says that they need to make a ladder so they can get out, and the archer immediately accepts this command. Without thinking twice, he fires a quick shot that is destructive enough to cause a collapse. The Bloody Nightmare tries to return after this attack, but did not realize that he was not the target of this shot. Emily rushes forward, saying that she will freeze the lower half of this enemy's torso to help her team. Vincent says that he agrees with this course of action, after which he asks to leave everything else to him personally. How they both rush forward, simultaneously twisting and rushing towards the attacks of the Bloody Nightmare. The monster senses that the heroes have united against him and tries to make one last attempt to deal with them, In a desperate attempt to destroy Vincent, he launches several tentacles forward at once, each blow of which proves meaningless. After recovering from all the attacks, Vincent reflects that his regenerative abilities are quite useful. Thanks to it, he can patch up minor wounds, which means that minor injuries are not at all scary to him. Emily, meanwhile, takes a vantage point near the giant creature's feet and creates another frost flag. A moment later, she releases an icy wave to freeze the lower torso of this giant monster. Vincent blurs the air and Emily yells at him that he should aim for the chest, as it will be much easier to hit the bullseye. Vincent understands that he will not be able to carry out his plans, since he is still not fast and agile enough. To overcome these barriers, he comes out of his berserk state, thereby increasing his speed by 20. He also instantly uses the poison resistance skill and drinks a slow potion. Thanks to the power of his skills, these effects are instantly reversed, causing the slow potion to speed up our hero. After this, he rushes forward at incredible speed, saying that now is his finest hour. The bloody nightmare is only trying to close itself off from this attack in the hopes of escaping the cunning plan that will guarantee its destruction. Vincent continues to approach his opponent, but at the last moment he makes a surprise attack with his tentacles. Vincent only has time to swear loudly before blocking the attack with his hands, only partially reducing the damage to himself. Emily looks at her ally in surprise, realizing that their grand plan was just destroyed in the blink of an eye. Vincent flies to the side and hopes that he can somehow soften his fall. He is tired and says that despite the fact that this was his finest hour, he failed miserably, despite the effort he put in. He also states that more could not be expected from a garbage man who thought that everything could work out. However, he continues to smile and says that it is not over yet, and he has every chance to win. As he falls down, he calls upon his deity, saying that he needs to activate his recycling ability. He also states that he is offering something completely new as a subject for recycling, something that has never existed before. Rushing downwards, he declares that he himself will now become an object of processing, sacrificing himself to his deity. A huge number of hands immediately appear from under the ground, preparing to lift their prey and drag it into the abyss. The bloody nightmare watches what is happening in surprise, realizing that he has never seen such a terrible deity from the depths of the abyss. Emily and the other comrades wonder what the hell this is and where these hands suddenly came from. The system informs the protagonist that it is impossible to recycle a living organism and cancels the operation. Vincent says that if it can't be recycled, then it should be thrown into the trash with all the force you have. In doing so, he gives a command to the hands of the abyss that hold him, so that they throw him in the indicated direction, giving a second chance. After some time, the deity launches the protagonist with incredible force towards the bloody nightmare, giving him a chance to make his way. Using his incredible speed, as well as the unimaginable amount of momentum he has built up, he punches right through the monster. Along with this, he takes the stone manuscript, which contains the necessary texts to interrupt this test. He lands on the ground, while the body of the bloody nightmare is temporarily paralyzed and shatters into several pieces. Without thinking twice, he begins to decipher these texts, pronouncing strange words that are incomprehensible to any person with an intelligence below 50. The system notifies him that he has finally passed the blood test, after which the body of the bloody nightmare begins to catch fire and dissolve into thin air. Other members of the group say that what happened really surprised them and they still can't believe that they were able to do it. Emily looks around, constantly wondering if they really won this hard-fought battle. Their level instantly increases, and the sorceress and the other warrior joyfully shout that they have finally reached the top. Their skills also increase significantly, and they have time to enjoy themselves a little. Emily also gains enough experience to level up, become even stronger, and thus take a step towards greatness. Vincent remains at the same level he was at, receiving a notification that he has already reached the maximum level and cannot upgrade. In the place where the huge bloody nightmare just lay, a huge chest appears, which glows with a legendary glow. When they get closer, the heroes open the chest, and several extremely high-ranking reward cards fly out of it. Vincent catches one of these cards in his hand, after which he decides to carefully examine what he earned for defeating this monster. He sees that he is now offered a sword that has very impressive damage stats, but requires level 10 to wield. Vincent angrily states that his level cannot exceed 1, so he cannot use this weapon. Looking at all his rewards, he realizes that they are extremely valuable artifacts, but he cannot use them due to the level restriction. Emily says that since Vincent was the man who defeated the bloody nightmare, it is up to him to decide how they distribute the reward. Vincent takes his ally aside for a moment and tells her that he has something very important to tell her. After some time, a huge number of special agents appear near the portal, looking closely at the shimmering energy. One of them demands to contact headquarters and prepare to send a rescue team to evacuate the priority target. After a few moments, the gate begins to waver, and the staff hear Emily's voice saying that there is no need for this squad. A few seconds later, she herself emerges from this portal, leading the rest of the squad members, who proudly walk behind her. One of the guards looks happily at his mistress, saying that they were already worried, waiting for the moment when she would return. Correspondents say that nothing else was expected from Emily's family, since she was already able to clean up without difficulty, despite the serious rank of danger. Emily pushes her security guard away and begins posing for the cameras, saying that there is nothing she can't handle. After that, he smiles and says that in the end, she is a C-class hunter who is capable of defeating even greater monsters. For a few moments, we are transported back in time to the moment of that very conversation between Emily and Vincent. Vincent offered to sell her all these cards, saying that he would give her a discount out of friendship, and everything would come to 500 magic crystals. Emily agreed to this with surprise, to which he added that he also asked her to pretend that he had never been there and that she had done this cleanup herself. Emily was very surprised by such a demand from this man, but she quickly agreed, realizing that there was nothing wrong with it. Vincent also advised them to leave first, saying that he would catch up with them later since he still had things to do. Emily went about her business, thinking that Vincent seemed to want her to remain in his debt in some way. However, she decides that there is nothing wrong with repaying the person who helped her complete this test for his service. Vincent, meanwhile, is left alone with this strange stone slab and tries to figure out what can be done with it. Studying it carefully, he extends his hand towards it to summon the being that is inside this tablet. After a few moments, a small clot of energy appears from the cracks that are inside this stone slab. Vincent smiles, realizing that in front of him is none other than a surviving part of a bloody nightmare that miraculously managed to escape. He says that even such a pathetic creature as a nightmare would not want to be like trash, and allows others to step on him. With these words, he extends his hand and offers the bloody nightmare to become his strength. The creature agrees, and finds itself lifted into the air. The system tells him that the bloody nightmare has been successfully processed, after which the hands of the abyssal scavenger stretch forward. Moments later, Vincent is rewarded with an ability called Nightmare Body, which allows him to summon a clone of his host. Vincent understands that thanks to this ability, he will be able to create his own doubles at times when the situation requires it. He smiles and says that he can't wait to use this ability, and then rushes towards the exit of the dungeon. After a while, he finds himself in a fairly well-lit building and can rest a little, and even order some food for himself. While the rest of the villagers are enjoying their sunny day, Vincent is busy with important calculations, thinking about how he should behave. He carefully checks his inventory to see which items might be of value to him, and which ones are best thrown away. He also reflects on the fact that he gave Emily all the equipment that required a high level, and now he will definitely not attract attention. After thinking for a while, he realizes that the scavengers are so inconspicuous that no one would notice if he started selling these items secretly. However, he comes to the comforting conclusion that no one would buy the garbage man's goods anyway. One way or another, he decides to process all the goods he has in his inventory to get something worthwhile. The system informs him that the equipment has been reworked, and he now has one standard point. Vincent tries to understand what just happened, and looks closely at the tutorial prompts that appeared in front of him. The system tells him that he has access to the recycling skill, and the standard point can be used to upgrade and create items. Vincent wonders if he should follow these hints, while the system recommends that he upgrade a regular dagger for 5 points. Vincent goes into painstaking calculations to figure out exactly what he needs to rework in order to get the required number of points. Once he has processed the required amount of junk, he puts 5 universal points into his dagger, thus fully repairing and upgrading it. Vincent smiles and realizes that this way he has gained access to the ability to infinitely upgrade his weak weapon. The system congratulates him on completing the training, and recommends choosing either a magic potion that restores mana or a stat boost. Vincent reflects on the fact that he doesn't need to level up his attributes right now, but he might have problems with mana. He understands that many unprepared guys often run out of mana and have to go back before they find the boss's lair. Vincent immediately selects the potion. The system congratulates him and informs him that he has learned to restore items. The system also says that to restore greenery he needs 6 points in any capacity. Vincent ponders the fact that glasses are needed to prepare greens, but he still can't figure out what the container is for. Without thinking twice, he turns to the cook and asks him for a few empty glasses for his own use. A few minutes later, he sits down at the table, holding 3 empty liquid containers in front of him. After quickly processing the trash, he realizes that the next step is now regeneration, and a strange icon appears above his head. Vincent looks closely at these icons, wondering if this is a mini-game that he must win. Some time passes, which Vincent spends trying to get the best possible results in this mini-game. As a result of the mini-game, he filled several containers at once with a large amount of mana potion. Vincent takes one of the containers and says that it looks strange, but is quite usable. Quite quickly, he decides to drink one of them to test its effect directly on his body. Unfortunately, the taste of this magical potion turns out to be quite disgusting, and Vincent realizes that it is similar to rotten eggs. However, the system immediately notifies him about the increase in strength and endurance indicators by a large number of %. Vincent happily leaves the establishment, thinking that today he will clear out another abyss for maximum effect. At the exit, he is immediately met by several thugs who ask if he is that Vincent. Vincent recovers and looks closely at those who decided to surround him, realizing that perhaps these are more debt collectors. One of the thugs says that only a few days have passed, but his behavior has already noticeably changed. One of them comes closer to him and puts his hand on his shoulder, saying that he was already thinking of reporting him missing, since he had been looking for him for a long time. Vincent steps aside and says that he has already paid off all his debts, so he has no dealings with the other bandits. The most brazen bandit says that paying the debt does not free him, since his contract is still in force. He also states that Vincent will be a garbage man for the rest of his life, before asking who he is trying to fool by acting tough. Without thinking twice, he punches Vincent in the arm, causing him to drop his glass of mana potion. Immediately after this, he starts laughing at him and asks what he feels so sorry that he can't even hold the glass. The other bandits begin to flex their fists and say that he was always disgusting to look at. Vincent remembers that according to the rules, using skills outside the abyss is prohibited unless you are a law enforcement officer. One of the bandits offers him a deal, saying that if he eats all the felt pearls one by one right off the floor, he will let him go. The criminal adds that he will even help him collect all the pearls, since in the end it is necessary to help the smaller brothers. Vincent turns around and says he'll agree as long as he kisses his ass first. The bandit immediately loses his temper and prepares to strike Vincent in the face and inevitably face consequences that he does not yet suspect. However, he suddenly stops, feeling his boss approaching, and asks him in surprise what he is doing here. Apparently, the boss is a man named Rodrigo Caesar, who belongs to the C-class hunting group. He approaches his subordinate and roughly grabs him by the tie, asking if they have gathered enough people. He replies that they need one more person. Caesar asks him where this last man is, who should already have been hired into the squad. Vincent tries to leave the place, but Rodrigo stops him immediately, turning to him. Before he can do anything, Caesar informs him that he has just hired him to join his hunting party. The bandit is surprised and says that this young man is just a garbage man, but Caesar remains adamant. He states that when entering the abyss under the red moon, all the monsters will be extremely ferocious, so he needs cannon fodder. Vincent understands that if we are talking about the red moon, then he will have to go through difficult times, because this is a very unusual and dangerous phenomenon. During the red moon, monsters go berserk, and rare creatures can also appear there. The rewards for killing these monsters will be doubled, and the quality of the magic crystals dropped will increase. Vincent smiles and says that he agrees to this proposal, asking to be included in the list of participants. Caesar praises the intelligence of his interlocutor and says that he is glad to meet such people who are burning with enthusiasm. Without thinking twice, he turns to the other person he called to join the team and asks him to come closer. Vincent hears a strange scream and turns around to find out what happened. Finding himself in the middle of trouble, he sees that the person who also decided to join the team is Larry. Larry points at Vincent in fear, easily recognizing him as the one who ruined his future life. Vincent, realizing that something urgently needs to be done to stop these streams of accusations that could follow in the next second, begins to act. He begins to fight Larry, beating him and ordering him to shut his mouth immediately if he wants to keep any of his teeth. Larry tries to escape, but Vincent prevents this and catches up with him literally around the next corner. Vincent reminds him that if he hadn't used each of their powers then, they would have died there, and in fact, he saved his life. Rodrigo asks Vincent if they know each other, to which he replies that this is of course not true, and Larry was mistaken. Rodrigo turns and leaves, saying that a man who killed all of his group members cannot have friends. Vincent asks Larry how he was able to get out of there, realizing that he was supposed to be dragged behind bars. Larry says he was initially sentenced to 15 years in prison, but he dropped all charges and paid the fine, becoming bankrupt. Larry immediately demands that he be compensated for all the damage he has suffered, but Vincent declares that one more word, and he will indeed recycle him as trash. Larry decides to shut up, and the group heads to the C-City subway, where a new portal is currently being prepared to open. This portal looks incredibly threatening, But this does not stop our heroes from conquering this abyss. Vincent, Larry, and Rodrigo approach the portal so that they can each meet their new squad. Among the other members of the cannon fodder squad, he meets a bard named Chester, who is level 3. Vincent greets them and says that he is a level 1 garbage man, after which Larry does the same. Chester tries to cheer up the protagonist by saying that there is nothing surprising in exchanging your life for money, and they all understand him. After this, he says that their team needs a leader, and so, as a bard, he puts forward his candidacy to give commands. This team also includes a healer and a warrior, who do not make any expressions due to their lower level. Rodrigo approaches his team and says that in addition to the 6 main Oath participants, this time they will be joined by 5 temporary ones. He also states that the temporary members are cannon fodder to reduce their losses and will be used as reconnaissance. Rodrigo also says that he doesn't have any hopes for them in combat missions, and if they encounter monsters, they should flee immediately. He also states that if they want to get the money, at least one of them must remain alive, in which case, all the money will go to the survivors. The cannon fodder squad's healer suddenly begins coughing grimly, and the warrior asks him if he is all right. The healer says that he cannot back out because he has 4 daughters, and he must feed them somehow. The warrior exhales tensely and says that he has a sick wife who is about to die, and he needs to risk everything to earn money for her treatment. Chester remains in the most optimistic mood, and joyfully chants victory cries to keep his men moving forward. The warrior says that there is a new face in their squad, to which Chester states that someone always dies in their squad. The warriors say they are more concerned that the face looks too relaxed for a man going to his death. After some time, their team goes into the mysterious catacombs and continues to explore them for some time. Chester turns to Larry and tells him that he is surprised that they haven't encountered any monsters yet. But Larry asks him not to croak. The healer says that it has become very cold here, to which the warrior replies that the temperature has indeed dropped significantly. Chester begins to complain that he knew he needed to dress warmer and decides to move on. After a while, he steps on a strange pressure panel, which instantly activates a mechanism created for only one deadly purpose. Vincent only has time to look up and discovers that a huge blade appears next to the bard, which is about to cut him into pieces. Using his incredible speed, he quickly pushes him aside to save the fool's life. Chester looks back at the man who just saved him and finds a huge blade lying next to him. He wonders what just happened, and Vincent wonders in his mind how this man survived until today. Chester says he's too lucky, but he needs to be much more careful in the future. However, his carelessness instantly gets the better of him, and he suggests moving on, stepping on another bait trap. This time, several cocoons fall from the ceiling, the total number of which reaches about 10. Chester runs away, assuming that there might be something dangerous in these cocoons, deciding to watch them from afar. The healer wonders what is in these cocoons, making a bold guess that they most likely contain living beings. In response to his bold suggestion, these cocoons begin to collapse violently, and giant claws emerge from them. Moments later, the cocoons are completely destroyed, and the Suicide Squad is attacked by a massive force of level 5 demon spiders. Chester screams loudly about how much he hates spiders, realizing that these elite-level creatures can also spit venom. Larry tries to deal with these opponents by using fire skills, which in theory should destroy these insects. Several arrows fly from his hands at once, hitting the heads of these giant creatures, but having no effect. Other fighters say that these are elite monsters, so defeating them requires a much more organized approach. The warrior rushes forward to focus the monster's aggression on himself, thereby giving the team time to deal damage. Vincent, meanwhile, continues to keep a close eye on these creatures, one of which chooses him as the target for its main attack. The spider lunges forward to bite his leg, but the damage this creature deals to the protagonist is 0. Vincent, looking bored, smashes the spider across the floor with one deft kick, instantly destroying it. Larry looks at Vincent and wonders why he is so arrogant if he is just a garbage man. Meanwhile, the system asks the protagonist if he is ready to begin processing the destroyed spider. Vincent immediately replies that he is ready, and the system destroys the monster's corpse, rewarding him with new items. In addition to the standard skill points, he receives a special arcana that allows him to treat his weapon with poison, increasing its damage. Vincent realizes that now, by recycling corpses, he can get not only skill cards, but also arcana, which can be used to profitably enhance his weapons. The warrior interrupts Vincent's thoughts and says that he should not be in the clouds, and if he cannot help, then he should retreat. Vincent calmly takes out his dagger and decides to use the lasso to enhance his regular blade. Immediately after this, his blade takes on a different appearance and begins to resemble a spider's sting. Chester continues to run away, thinking that even though he is the highest level, he still has a hard time fighting. He dodges another blow and tries to understand what to do in this situation, which does not bode well. He admits to himself that his profession does not require combat skills, and all he can do is strengthen others. However, he becomes more determined, understands that the situation is too dangerous, but knows what to do. Filled with incredible determination, he performs one of the popular songs to raise the morale of his comrades. Vincent is surprised by such a bad performance and wonders what is going on with this bard and why he is doing such nonsense. Hearing these amazing tunes, the spider becomes enthusiastic, and the system notifies everyone that these monsters have become stronger. Chester storms off, wondering what just happened, realizing that he must have played the wrong song. Without thinking twice, he turns around and finds one of the spiders rushing at him, ready to instantly tear him into small pieces. Luckily, an unfortunate fate befalls this monster, as Vincent comes to the rescue. Armed with his upgraded weapon, he cuts the huge insect into small pieces in a matter of moments. Meanwhile, the other members of the squad sense the additional strength of the monsters and realize that they need to retreat. The warrior understands that he urgently needs to come up with something that can save them from the clutches of these monsters. Otherwise, they will not be able to escape. Larry also doesn't have much success in fighting these monsters, as his skills are too weakened. Vincent rushes forward to save his careless comrades with his best weapon. Blow after blow, he destroys every monster that manages to stand in his way. Larry can't believe that he's suddenly been saved by the pathetic worm he's always hated. More and more monsters fall to the ground, cut into small pieces. Before his allies could even comprehend anything, he was already behind them, still holding his trusty blade. The healers and warrior turn to Chester, assuming that this guy did all this, and ask him to ignore the garbage man who did all the work. Vincent muses that the demon spiders are resistant to poison, which explains why his weapon wasn't as effective against them. Chester can't believe he's made any significant progress, saying he only wanted to strengthen other allies. Vincent muses that the monsters in this forest are not intelligent and will attack targets they cannot see. He also understands that in this case, the monsters will simply turn around and run away to regroup. The few spiders that are still alive begin to tremble, watching the main character. Immediately after this, they turn around and walk into the darkness, after which Vincent says that this is all too predictable. Larry watches what's happening and says that this is only the first location, and it's already so scary. Vincent reports that he has already processed a sufficient number of arcana and plans to leave only one, and exchange the rest for skill points. The exchange procedure is coming to an end, and because of this, he gains 54 attribute points that can be spent profitably on himself. Larry lights a torch and the group decides to move on now that they have some time to rest. He also says that their mission is to advance as far as possible, and now they must be much more careful. He also states that they don't need to fall into traps,